Welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano, and thank you so much for joining me here on yet another off-season check-in.
Mahomes steps up, throws, and he got it! Touchdown, Kelce!
So much to get to for the Kansas City Chiefs as we head into training camp in St. Joe, including some players that we're going to need to keep an eye on in St. Joe. Some veterans, some rookies. We'll break those down later. Also later, I understand having to deal with Patrick Mahomes' absurdity from the entire world. I get that. But having to deal with it within Kansas City is flat out unacceptable, and we will dive into why, for whatever reason, everyone has to defend Patrick Mahomes after being the best quarterback of all time before he's 30. I'm already charged up about it. Also, big trade in the NFL. One team might actually have just become a contender in the AFC. We have to discuss that coming up in just a few minutes. But first, Patrick Mahomes is going to have a renaissance just like 2018 in 2025. Now, a lot of people forget this. Before there was Josh Allen, before there was Joe Burrow, before you had everybody running around pretending to be Patrick Mahomes, in 2018, Patrick Mahomes revolutionized the NFL. He played unlike anybody else we've ever seen in our lives, and it set the entire league on fire to the point where now everybody, when evaluating quarterbacks and when trying to build an offense, they go back and say, how can we find a guy who's going to play like 2018 Patrick Mahomes? That is the gold standard. And in 2025, things tend to be falling in the right way for Patrick Mahomes to have yet another explosive season like he did in 2018. All the pieces in the wide receiver core are in place. Patrick Mahomes got his hair cut. He's fired up. He's got an extra level of motivation going. And I'm telling you this right now. There is going to be a reckoning in the NFL this year. And that wrecking ball's name is Patrick Mahomes II. I can't wait to see this happen. Now, for the last 2 years, ever since 2022, so in 23 and 24, the Chiefs have really focused on protecting the defense. The NFL goes in ebbs and flows, so the high-flying offenses weren't winning championships anymore. So the Chiefs used that. They used Steve Spagnuolo, the greatest defensive mind in the NFL, and a phenomenal Chiefs defense, and they leaned on that defense. They kept the ball on the field. The Chiefs, this is an interesting stat. The Chiefs in 2024, after all the crap people want to talk about them, the Chiefs had more scoring drives of 10-plus plays than any team in the NFL by such a huge margin, it's not even close. I think second place had like 12 or was 12 behind Kansas City. So the Chiefs made an active point to have a methodical offense. They wanted to be methodical. They wanted to step back and go, wait a minute. Let's let the defense win this. And then when we need a play at the end, we got number 15. And that's what they did. By the way, the Patriots did this for many years and were very successful. But this last year, it got tougher. Teams started to figure things out. Teams adjust. And now, going into 2025, we have Matt Nagy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator, talking about the fact that the Chiefs are going to uncork it in 2025. We're going to see a lot more Patrick Mahomes slinging the ball downfield that we didn't see last year, and it's going to be a huge explosion for Pat. I have it right now. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are so stacked this year on offense. They have so much to like on the offensive line, so much to like across the board. And I say this completely sober, in a full mind and body, and I don't think it's actually that crazy of a thing to say. Patrick Mahomes is going to win the MVP in 2025. He has all the pieces in place on offense that he's not had since 2018. The wide receiver core, top to bottom, is the best he's ever had. The offensive line has become significantly better at pass protecting. Travis Kelce looks like he's in the best shape he's been in since 2022, where Patrick Mahomes won the MVP and Travis Kelce had over 1,300 yards receiving. This team is built to not only give Patrick Mahomes an MVP, but have one of the most dynamic offenses in the history of the NFL. And that's why I can't wait for training camp. I can't wait to get to St. Joe and see what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing and how dynamic this team is going to look. The offense last year had its issues. The major issues for the Chiefs offense were what? lack of wide receivers. Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown both going down before September was over. That was the most heartbreaking thing imaginable. Where now suddenly Xavier Worthy had to go become this top target at wide receiver. A first-round pick, granted, but still a rookie. And a guy who was supposed to come in and be more of a gadget player, maybe return some punts, play a lot in the slot, be there for a guy that can make big plays here and there. Not necessarily your number one target on offense, but that's what Xavier Worthy had to become. And frankly, as well as he did, there were growing pains. As one expects, there were growing pains. And then the biggest issue with the offense last year, left tackle. The Chiefs started 4 left tackles last year. 2 of them benched for poor performance. One of them, Kingsley's a guard now. So that's how dire the straits were for the Kansas City Chiefs last year. If you remember, Kingsley started the year as the starting left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's why the Chiefs leaned on the defense, methodically moved the ball, did quick short passes, and then when the game was on the line, when there was a big third down or a 4th and short, what did the Kansas City Chiefs do? They gave the ball to number 15, let him put on the Superman cape and go do what Patrick Mahomes does. So that was the offense last season. This year, you got a first-round pick at left tackle in Josh Simmons, who looks like the best pass protector coming out of the draft for years. People were worried about his patellar tendon. That looks very healthy. They were worried about his work ethic. Well, Andy Reid says they got to kick him out of the facility. So I'm not as worried about the work ethic of Josh Simmons. And if he puts in the time during this downtime, if Josh Simmons puts in the time during this month-and-a-half layoff between OTAs and training camp, and he really focuses on getting his body ready for a full NFL season, he could end up being the most important rookie in the entire NFL this year. Except for maybe Cam Ward, because he's a quarterback and I think he's really good. But outside of Cam Ward, Josh Simmons is probably going to make the biggest impact of any rookie in the NFL this year, provided that he's putting in the time. And I'm not with him, I don't know. But I do know this. If Andy Reid has to kick you out of the facility because you're putting in too much time during OTAs, that's a damn good sign for Josh Simmons in his first year in the NFL in Kansas City. So that is very interesting. Wide receiver core. My goodness. My goodness. You have Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice back. Rashee Rice is going to be outstanding. We'll talk about him a little bit more in depth later in the show. But you have Rashee Rice back. Hollywood Brown's back. Xavier Worthy, with another year under his belt, now comes in really a veteran. I mean, at this point, right? Like a second-year player, but considering the amount of snaps and the amount of meaningful plays he was really forced to make last year because of injury, Xavier Worthy comes in as a veteran. Now you add in all these other pieces. Juju Smith-Schuster. What a phenomenal number 4. Your number 4 option is Juju Smith-Schuster. By the way, just for point of reference, when Patrick Mahomes won the MVP in 2022, Juju Smith-Schuster was his number 1 option. His number 2, this is obviously after Travis Kelce. At wide receiver, Juju was number 1 option. Do you remember who number 2 was? Marquez Valdez, I can't catch Scandling. That was your number 2 wide receiver in 2022, and Patrick Mahomes made him look fantastic. And I don't want to talk too much poorly about MVS because he made some spectacular catches in the Super Bowl and especially in the playoffs for the Kansas City Chiefs that year that led the Chiefs to a Super Bowl. So I don't want to be too disparaging. Let's say that. Too disparaging to the name of MVS. But let's not sit here and pretend that MVS is in the same conversation as Rashee Rice. Let's not sit here and pretend that MVS is Xavier Worthy or MVS is Hollywood Brown or that MVS is Juju Smith-Schuster. On this team, MVS, the guy who was the second option in the 2022 season when Patrick Mahomes won the MVP and the Super Bowl, he would be the 5th option, maybe, on Kansas City this year. That's how much better this wide receiver core is than anything Patrick Mahomes has ever played with, and that's why I expect him not only to have a big-time MVP caliber season, but to come out and light up the NFL, revolutionizing once again, just like 2018. So there's so much in place to be excited for. And I'll tell you the big key here. The big key is the big Yeti, Travis Kelce. Can he come out and play like 2022 Travis Kelce? Because that's the best player I've ever seen at the tight end position is Travis Kelce in 2022. You can have all your arguments you want. You can come to me with Gronk, come to me with Tony Gonzalez, come to me with everybody. And both of those guys are good in their own right. We'll talk more about tight ends later. But you could bring those guys to me. But if you put any one of those guys at their best up against 2022 Travis Kelce, they lose 10 times out of 10. Because Travis Kelce in 2022 was a revelation of the tight end position and changed it forever and for always and for better. That is what Travis Kelce has brought to the table. And if he can bring that back this year, and I understand, Father Time is undefeated. This will be very difficult. But he looks in great shape. He's got a lot of money. He's got a lot of connections. Here's what I know. And this is such a conspiracy theory. Please bear with me for just a minute. I'll do this for 60 seconds and I'm done. But I believe this to be true. Tom Brady and LeBron James are both the most important people to their respective leagues when they played. Both of them seem to not age. Suddenly, Travis Kelce being wildly important to the NFL because of his relationship with Taylor Swift and because of the amount of female audience members the NFL gained because of Travis Kelce's relationship with Taylor Swift, he has become as important as Tom Brady was. So Tom Brady aged backwards. We're watching Travis Kelce age backwards. Is there something we don't know about? Some type of rejuvenation happening for the elite that we're just not sure about and they only give to players that they desperately need to have in the league? I don't know. It's just a question. It's an observation that I've seen throughout multiple leagues, the NBA and the NFL. Is Travis Kelce getting the fountain of youth that they're hiding from us at some elite warehouse where the lizard people are guarding it? I don't know, but I do know it's an interesting question. All right, moving on to things that are more in the realm of reality. We have Chiefs to watch at training camp. A couple of people online who are great at what they do put out lists of guys that we should watch at training camp in St. Joe. We'll go through both of their lists. The first one coming up here in just a few minutes. But first, the Steelers make a big trade to try to stack the roster for Aaron Rodgers in 2025. And I got to tell you, I'm not worried about the Steelers, but my ears are perked up. I was trashing the Steelers last show, but now they traded Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. That's help at cornerback and help at tight end for a safety they didn't necessarily need. As good as Minkah Fitzpatrick has been in the past, I think the Dolphins completely fell apart in this trade. I think they just wanted to get Jalen Ramsey the hell out of there. Honestly, I don't know if Jalen's been talking mess about Tua or what's going on, but it feels like that's a trade to get Jalen Ramsey the hell out of Miami and get him to Pittsburgh because they both swapped small picks too. But looking at these two situations, there's just no world where you could tell me the Steelers didn't win that trade. And now with Jalen Ramsey at corner and Jonnu Smith at tight end, the Steelers have a legitimate roster, which means two things. One, they might be a little bit of a threat. I was laughing at the idea of the Steelers being a threat, but the fact is, Aaron Rodgers, if he's playing at a decent level, he has enough pieces around him where he's going to be really good, and that team is going to be a threat. And two, the second thing this does, the excuses for Aaron Rodgers are dead. They're dead. That's the reality. There is no world where I want to hear one more excuse about Aaron Rodgers and how, they just didn't put enough around me. That's all we heard in Green Bay. They just didn't have a defense. That's why he only got one ring in 2010. Green Bay just didn't have a defense. BS. Aaron Rodgers chokes in the big moments. And we could sit there and make all the excuses we want to for Aaron, but the fact is, he had been given enough multiple times with Green Bay and didn't get it done. He also had a pretty decent team in New York last year that completely fell apart. So I don't necessarily buy into the Steelers. I don't buy into Aaron Rodgers. But one of two things happen here. Either Aaron Rodgers proves me wrong and he rides off into the sunset as a Steelers championship. I just can't even say it with a straight face. There's no way that happens. But that's one thing that could happen. Or two, Aaron Rodgers does what Aaron Rodgers does, which means he falls apart, blames everybody else for whatever route they didn't run right, talks to the media and Pat McAfee about how everybody's against him and he just can't catch a break. And then we will say there is no more excuses for Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers pulled out all the stops. They've done everything they can to get Aaron Rodgers everything they can give him. With that said, there's no reason for us to coddle Aaron Rodgers anymore. Make or break year in his final year for Aaron Rodgers. If that's not interesting, I don't know what is. Can't wait to see how it plays out. Dead serious. So who is the biggest threat for the Chiefs in the AFC? Like, if you look around the AFC, a conference the Chiefs have not lost for the last 3 straight years. The AFC conference has been dominated by the Kansas City Chiefs, but who is the biggest threat going into this year? I'll tell you who. It is not the Bills. It is not the Bengals, and it's not even the Baltimore Ravens. It is the Denver Broncos. They have all the makings of a team that's going to explode in 2025. They have Bo Nix, who has not only had a great rookie campaign, but it looks like he's going to elevate and be even better in his second year. They've added players. They look good on defense. There's a lot to love about the Denver Broncos, and I think they are going to elevate and catch a lot of teams out of nowhere in 2025. Despite the fact that everyone should be watching out for the Broncos, it feels like nobody is, because the NFL news media moves like molasses. They're still talking about Aaron Rodgers. They're still focused on guys who have been here for a long time. Bo Nix is going to explode this season, and the Chiefs are going to have a tall order to make sure that they stay on top of the AFC and the AFC West, because the Broncos are coming. And that's a huge thing to watch this year.
To win it. Oh! Blocked! The Chiefs have won! The Chiefs have won!
Now, there is a wild sports question that's circulating the internet right now, and we have got to dive into it because I think the answer comes from the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll dive into that here in just a few minutes, but first, Chiefs to watch at training camp. We're going to dive into the first list. This is via Alex, a.k.a. Chiefs Talk from Instagram. He posted his 4 players that he thinks might make a roster spot in training camp. Now, this is an interesting one because I think I got 50-50. He put down 4. I think 2 of them get a roster spot. Let's start. Tyquan Thornton, wide receiver. Spent the last 3 years with the New England Patriots. He's now over with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's going to be tough for him to make a roster that is this stacked at wide receiver, right? Jalen Royals is already in. I mean, he's a 4th-round pick. He's making the team. We already discussed the rest of the wide receiver core. The problem a lot of guys are going to have in Kansas City is you just have too much talent. You got a lot of guys at wide receiver who I think would make a lot of other rosters in the NFL that flat out just probably aren't going to make it in Kansas City. I think you'll see a lot of guys get cut early at the wide receiver position just because the Chiefs know, hey, you have something. Hey, you could go be somewhere else and we'll go ahead and, we'll let you have an opportunity to get picked up by somebody else before the end of preseason. I think that's going to be something that happens for a few guys, and Tyquan Thornton, in my mind, will also be one of those guys. Fabian Lovett Sr., defensive tackle, undrafted free agent with the Chiefs last year as an undrafted free agent. I think he gets a good shot. Here's the thing. If you're 6'3", 320, you got a chance at defensive tackle, and Lovett has that shot. I don't know if I'd mark him as someone who's going to make it, but he's also, I think, definitely someone to watch. I agree with Chiefs Talk in that reality that, hey, he's a guy to watch. Lovett's somebody to keep an eye on, because if he goes in there and starts mauling people, well, then a position that people would look at and say, well, it's pretty good. Well, no, it's actually really good. It just got some fantastic depth with Fabian Lovett Sr. So that is one to watch for sure, even though right now I probably wouldn't have him on the 53-man roster. The next 2 I do have on the 53-man roster. That is Elijah Badger, wide receiver, undrafted out of Florida. I think Badger has the best shot of any undrafted wide receiver to stay in Kansas City. And the reason for that is, not only is his tape fantastic, if you haven't watched Elijah Badger, go on the internet. and watch Elijah Badger highlights at Florida and tell me that Elijah Badger doesn't have a chance to make it in Kansas City. He 100% does, but I think beyond just the tape, beyond how good Elijah Badger looks at Florida, you have to think about where he plays on the field, which is outside. Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are lacking in outside wide receivers. We've been waiting for Justin Ross for years, right? Elijah Badger, kind of a similar situation, and a big outside guy that plays the outside wide receiver position well. With that in mind, he is a guy that you're going to be looking to say, hey, if he comes into camp and Elijah Badger just sets camp on fire, that is a huge deal for Kansas City and brings in somebody that could make an immediate impact in 2025 purely because he does something that a lot of other wideouts in Kansas City don't have as their specialty, and that's playing on the outside. Fourth and final guy, and I think this guy is 100% getting it. He's going to make the roster. Tight end Jake Briningstool, undrafted free agent out of Clemson, has fantastic tape. He looks like Travis Kelce at Clemson. He gets fine space well. He gets open a lot, makes great catches, good runs after the catch. Why was he undrafted? That's my biggest question, and frankly, I don't know. But I do know that Andy Reid picked up the phone and called Jake Briningstool to recruit him to Kansas City. And Andy Reid doesn't pick up the phone to call up a bum. There is a very real chance that Jake Briningstool is a big impact player on this team as a second or third tight end because we know Andy. We know Andy Reid. Andy Reid has a love affair with tight ends. And I think Jake Briningstool could be a big part of that love affair this year. So I have him making the team as well. Great list by Chiefs Talk. I definitely like the idea of watching Tyquan Thornton, the idea of watching Fabian Lovett, and then Elijah Badger, Jake Briningstool. I think they make it, but we don't know. That's why they have the camp, and I can't wait to see it. Now, we have Farzine, big-time guy in the Chiefs' internet kingdom. He had another list of players to watch at training camp that we'll dive into coming up here in just a little bit. Also, people have been coming for Patrick Mahomes all offseason about everything. And now we're hearing buzzing in our own community? What is this? We'll get to that coming up here in just a few minutes. But first, an interesting question around the sports internet that I really enjoy, which is, who has the best single season performance in the 21st century in sports? Who has the best performance in a single season of anyone in the 21st century in sports? For me, Patrick Mahomes in 2022 had the greatest single season performance in the history of sports. His best wide receiver in the playoffs was MVS. Marquez Valdez-Scantling became a star in 2022. Everyone wrote off Patrick Mahomes in 2022. Everyone wrote him off. They said, this guy just lost Tyreek Hill. He doesn't have anybody on his team other than castaways like Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. How in the world is Patrick Mahomes going to even have a decent 2022? And he went out and dominated, won the MVP, and won the Super Bowl. The greatest single-season performance in the 21st century, in my opinion. Another one that was out there, Cam Newton, 2010, Auburn Tigers. I think that's a great answer, but I still take Mahomes 2022. The only person that could have topped Mahomes was Steph Curry in 2015-2016 when if the Warriors would have finished off the NBA Finals and won the championship that year, they would be the best team in history, and he would have had the best single season in history of the NBA. So LeBron James, your biggest accomplishment is stopping Steph Curry from having the greatest year in the history of the NBA. Michael Jordan should thank LeBron James because now Michael Jordan can still own that record purely because LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers and Kyrie Irving stepped up and took out the Warriors that year. So that's, to me, the only real options. And maybe there are some others. Comment. What do you think is the best single season performance in the 21st century in sports? It's a big topic. It's very interesting. Tom Brady, 2007. Can you say that when he didn't win a championship? Same kind of thing with Steph Curry. I don't know that you can hand guys that got really close to winning a title the crown. We can't give the Chiefs a three-peat right? We can go, well, the Chiefs three-peated this. Well, they almost three-peated. Well, yeah. No, they lost. That sucked. That's it. It sucked. What do you want me to tell you? And you know what? When the Chiefs lost going into that three-peat, and just real quickly touch on this, we knew before the playoffs started, on this show, we said the one team we don't want to see in the Super Bowl is the Philadelphia Eagles because they had the best top-to-bottom roster in the entire NFL. The reason I thought the Chiefs would still win, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. They had the coaching edge and they had the quarterback edge. Then Jalen Hurts came out and played out of his mind. He played out of his skull in that Super Bowl. Absolutely phenomenal play by Jalen Hurts. You have to give him his credit. And as much as I cannot stand Nick Sirianni, frankly, one of the most hated people for me in all of sports is big mouth Nick Sirianni, talking trash to fans, never controls his emotions, and acts like a child on the sidelines. Can't stand him. But on one day, he was better than Andy Reid. And you could feel the pain in my voice saying that. In the Super Bowl, he outcoached Andy for one day. Andy's a Hall of Famer. Andy's better than Nick Sirianni in every single way, and I would take Andy Reid 10 times out of 10 over Nick Sirianni. But on that day, Nick got him. And you know what? It happens. Doug Peterson got Bill Belichick. Remember the 2017 season? Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl. Doug Peterson outcoached Bill Belichick that day. Sometimes, no matter how great you are, it's someone else's day. And damn it, it was Nick Sirianni's day. And that stinks. So we move on. But we don't claim, the Chiefs got it. No, they got closer to a three-peat than any team to ever attempt a three-peat in Super Bowls. And that, my friends, is a massive accomplishment. And they did that by beating the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game beautifully. Now, what else do we have here? One NFL quarterback has made us all very grateful for Andy Reid this week. We'll tell you who that is coming up in just a few moments because, oh my God, wait until you see this. But first, it is absurd how much Patrick Mahomes has to be defended for getting closer to any quarterback in NFL history to a three-peat in Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes accomplished something last year that Tom Brady has never accomplished, and yet Tom Brady has to be one of the guys out here defending Patrick Mahomes. There isn't a world where we should have to defend Patrick Mahomes this much, have to defend the best quarterback in history before the age of 30 all the time. His trainer has to be out here talking to people saying, hey, his body is just fine. And it is. Look at the greatest quarterbacks of all time. None of them are bodybuilders. None of them are built with this amazing physique. You have to be thick, boy. You got to be thick. You got to be a thick boy to play quarterback in the NFL. You take the hits. Manning, thick. Brady, thick. The greatest quarterbacks in history are not skinny dudes. They are thick guys that can take big hits and have the fat to absorb those hits and still be incredibly athletic. I mean, it's amazing that we still have this conversation. It's amazing that we have to sit here, and I think it was Keatsman, right? I like Kevin Keatsman, by the way. I think Keatsman's the guy that Patrick Mahomes' trainer started tweeting to, like, hey, man, Patrick Mahomes is in good shape. But I understand that we get hate from Baltimore, from Buffalo, from Cincinnati, a lot from Detroit for some reason. I understand we get all those hatreds. Denver, what's up? Nice to see you. I understand we get all that hatred. But when I see it from other Kansas City Chiefs fans, and I saw it a lot last year, I honestly am driven out of my mind. How in the world do we live in a society where Patrick Mahomes can accomplish what he's accomplished at such an incredible level at such a young age, yet we still have to sit here and have his trainer tweeting at people trying to defend his physique? Screw you! Go accomplish something. Do what Patrick Mahomes did, which is step up and be the greatest quarterback in the history of time before the age of 30. 7 seasons, 7 AFC title appearances, 2 MVPs. Frankly, should have had 3. That man is untouchable. Yet we still I think because of pure, unadulterated jealousy, we have people out here trying to cut down the greatness that is Patrick Mahomes II. And I won't stand for it. And frankly, neither should you. I'll take it from everywhere else, but not from Kansas City. Get the hell out of here. You want to go through the list? Let's go through the list. Tyler Palko, Tyler Thigpen, Brody Croyle, Damon Heward, Matt Castle, Brady Quinn. We can go through it all time. We can go through it all day. We can go through every single one of them. Tons of quarterbacks that couldn't get the job done, that were absolutely terrible. In fact, Alex Smith was the most incredible thing to ever happen to Kansas City. How incredible to have a quarterback that doesn't poop his pants every time he drops back. That was amazing. And then when they got Patrick Mahomes, that was the next level, right? That was the step from pretty good team, gets knocked out in the wild card round, gets knocked out in the divisional round. Then Patrick Mahomes enters. Boom, 7 straight AFC title games. Why are we even having this conversation? I hate that I have to sit here and do this. I don't want to sit here and melt down about Patrick Mahomes. I don't want to. You keep making me. Stop doing it. It's a world where everyone gets to have an opinion, no matter how delusionally ridiculous it is, and no matter how much the tape and the numbers disprove your stupidity, we still have to sit here and discuss it. Serenity now! Serenity now! Woo! Okay. What else do we have here? You know, one day, Patrick Mahomes will be done with the NFL. One day, Patrick Mahomes will ride off into the sunset with Brittany and his kids and everybody else and enjoy his life away from football. He'll probably take some big network job like Tom Brady did, like Tony Romo did. He'll become the #1 guy in broadcasting somewhere when it's all said and done. And all of you Kermit the Frog a-holes are going to have to deal with him in the top spot as a color commentator. I can't wait till you all have to deal with that. But when that day comes, Patrick Mahomes will get his flowers. That's how this works, guys. Tom Brady was a cheater. That's a fact, by the way. Tom Brady was a cheater. And still, now that he's gone, Tom Brady was amazing. We'll never see another one like Tom Brady. None of you said that while he was playing. All we heard while Tom Brady was playing was hatred for Tom Brady. So just like with Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes is going to have to wait because people hate greatness. That's really what this is. People hate greatness. So they come down on Patrick Mahomes. They come down on Tom Brady. They come down on LeBron James. They come down on all these guys because they hate greatness. But when they're done playing, when LeBron James finally is done, which I don't know, he might be playing when I'm dead. I'm not sure. When LeBron James is finally done, all the LeBron haters, they'll go, yeah, he was really good. Guys like Skip Bayless will watch new players and they'll go, well, he's no LeBron James. In this weird world of hot take-a-rama, that's what's going to happen. I promise you that. When Patrick Mahomes is done, they'll go, well, we'll just never see another one like Patrick. I promise you. Unbelievable. All right. Now, more players to watch at training camp, this time by Farzine, coming up in just a few minutes. But first, one NFL quarterback has made us all very grateful for Mr. Andy Reid in Kansas City because, my goodness, have you watched Quarterback 2 on Netflix with Joe Burrow yet? Here is Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow after the Bengals have completely fallen apart in a game. Despite them winning, they had horrible execution and constant penalties. Watch this interaction.
The penalty train rolls on.
What the fuck are we doing, man? Wake the fuck up! Fucking mental mistakes all fucking day.
Way to finish the day. That's a great drive to finish it. I know it's a frustrating,
Embarrassing performance by us. Fucking embarrassing.
And listen, we'll address it. But at the same time, let's enjoy some of these wins.
Fuck that. We suck today. That was embarrassing. We jumped off sides fucking 8 times.
I know that.
Thank you to Netflix for that clip. And let's just break this down for a second. You have Zach Taylor being like, hey, let's enjoy this win. He's like, what the F are you talking about, man? We're getting destroyed out there with stupid penalties and mental mistakes. This is why our season's not going well. You're literally seeing a microcosm of why the Bengals were bad last year, and poor Joe Burrow has to explain it to his head coach. I see these players like Josh Allen and like Joe Burrow with these guys like Zach Taylor and Sean McDermott, and I wonder, my goodness, how good would these guys be if they had Andy Reid? So as much as we love Patrick Mahomes, and we'll always defend Patrick Mahomes against any two-bit loser that has something bad to say about him, we do have to give Andy Reid his flowers, because watching these guys ruin their elite quarterbacks because they just don't get it must be infuriating for other fan bases. Bengals fans must be watching quarterback 2 and wanting Zach Taylor out of Cincinnati. Bills fans, how are you still dealing with Sean McDermott? How are you still dealing with Sean McDermott every week, making ridiculously unimaginative play calls that make you want to pull your hair out? So as much as we love Patrick Mahomes, we'll always give that man the credit he deserves for elevating the Chiefs to a consistent Super Bowl contender in 7 straight AFC Championship games. We will not forget that Andrew Reid is a massive reason for that, because if I saw Andy Reid act like I saw Zach Taylor act, I would be absolutely livid. So only reason we brought that up is because I want to give Andy Reid his flowers for being the most amazing coach in the history of the NFL. I'll say that all day. Reid over Belichick all day, because Belichick couldn't do it without Brady. Andy Reid was still a fantastic coach without Patrick Mahomes. Belichick, he's hanging out with his girlfriend at North Carolina. Like, what are we talking about? Tom Brady carried him. He was good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, oh, Bill Belichick. No, he's one of the greats. But Andy Reid is greater, without question. I'm just saying. All right, now, the Chiefs have one veteran guy. One veteran that everybody's going to have their eyes on in 2025, and they absolutely should. We'll tell you who that is coming up here in just a few minutes. But first, Farzine on Instagram put out his players to watch. And the last guy on his list is the guy that I am going to have my eye on 100% when training camp starts. But let's get to the list. First one, Josh Simmons. Undoubtedly one of the biggest keys to the Chiefs' success in 2025. That's a lot for a rookie to handle. I get that. But the thing is, Josh Simmons brings so much to the table. You have to believe that if he can step in and be a good offensive tackle, you don't have to be great, but be middle of the pack in the NFL. If the Chiefs have a mediocre offensive tackle, Patrick Mahomes wins an MVP. You know how I know that? Orlando Brown in 2022. You're welcome. That's all we need. Middle of the pack. You don't have to be top. Just be middle. Just be good. So Josh Simmons doesn't have to be a world-beating left tackle. He just has to be good, decent. Then we have a Patrick Mahomes MVP, just like 2022 with Orlando Brown. I'm telling you. Number 2, Kingsley Suamataia. Can't imagine I pronounced that right. But Kingsley at left guard, he's definitely somebody to watch. He's someone that I'm already kind of writing off a little bit. And I know that seems unfair, but did you see him last year? I mean, I'm not saying you have to be great, but you can't be completely lost out there on a consistent basis. That was, frankly, an embarrassing display. Now, does he turn it around? If he turns it around, I'll be the biggest Kingsley fan in the world. If Kingsley steps into left guard and he dominates and becomes a great left guard, then I'll just keep my mouth shut and say, hey, he was in the wrong position. But until that happens, I'm going to look at him as somebody you go, oh, man, I wish he was better, right? Oh, man, I wish he would have panned out. But if he proves me wrong and he ends up being a great left guard, I'll be the first one to eat that crow and say, congratulations, Kingsley. And by the way, that would be pretty awesome too. We want everybody to win. Let's be clear about that. We want everybody on the Chiefs to be awesome. I hope we go there and we see Super Bowl after Super Bowl every day in camp. That won't happen, but that's what I'm hoping for. You know what I mean? So, next, we got 3 more guys, and the last one is my biggest guy to watch at Chiefs training camp. Rashee Rice. not only is a huge guy to watch, Rashee Rice is a guy everyone should have circled for this year. Rashee Rice is going to break out and become one of the elite wide receivers in 2025. He's going to be up there with guys like Justin Jefferson, with guys like CeeDee Lamb. We're going to be talking about Rashee Rice being in that same category because he has every bit of talent to make it happen. And as long as his head is screwed on straight and he's doing the right things on a weekly basis, then Rashee Rice is going to end up surpassing a guy like Jamar Chase and being one of the greatest wide receivers in the entire NFL. Everything is in place for Rashee Rice to make this big-time jump. And with Patrick Mahomes extra dialed in with the new haircut, I see zero reason why Rashee Rice doesn't elevate and be not only an all-pro, but an elite-level wide receiver in the NFL in 2025. Next. I got that. I think that's all I got to say about that. Nico Remigio. We all love Remigio, man. We do. And I'll tell you what, I think it's a great pick by Farzine to have Remigio as a guy to watch because he is the quintessential on-the-fence guy. You know, we like him as a returner. We see him do some nice things in preseason. The only issue Nico Remigio is going to have is that the wide receiver core is going to be so robust with talent and big-time players. I mean, we got to get to fifth before we even, or sixth, the sixth spot, before we even talk about Remigio. We're at the sixth spot, right? Go through your top five. Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy. Undoubtedly your top three. Juju Smith-Schuster, Jalen Royals. 4th and 5, right? You can interchange them if you want to, but that's 4 and 5. So before we even get to Remigio, or the possibility of getting to Remigio, we've already got 5 guys. So it's going to be really tough for Remigio to stay on point and be on the roster, but I really hope he is. I hope he elevates because I like his game. I like what he brings to the table. He has a lot of upside. So watching Nico Remigio, very smart pick by Farzine. I love that one. And then the one that I'm watching the most this year, one Brashard Smith. 7th round running back, SMU. This guy could be huge. Brashard Smith has every opportunity to take over and be a big-time back for the Kansas City Chiefs despite being a 7th round pick. And why is that? Well, because he fits perfectly with Andy Reid's offense. He has so many of the tools that you want coming out of the backfield, catching the ball. He looks like LaShawn McCoy in Philadelphia. And if you're telling me that you got a guy in the 7th round who looks like LaShawn McCoy in Philadelphia, then we're going to have a damn good time in Kansas City, and especially watching... We're going to have a damn good time in St. Joe, because that's where training camp is, watching Brashard Smith come into his own. But that's obviously up in the air. We don't know. I hope Brashard Smith comes out and looks like that beast that he could be in his tape. But if that doesn't happen, I think we have a problem. That's the issue. That's why Brashard Smith is my number one guy to watch at training camp for the Kansas City Chiefs, because if he's not good, if he doesn't work out, and Isaiah Pacheco's leg is just not quite there and he can't be the running back he was before, that is a massive problem, because then you're left with Kareem Hunt, who we love, the battering ram. But you're struggling to find a guy with any kind of breakaway speed or a scat back of any kind on this team. So Brashard Smith sort of has to hit, and that's why he is my number one player to watch going into St. Joe for the Chiefs training camp. Now, wait until you see this crazy quarterback comparison. This is nuts. A crazy quarterback comparison when it comes to Mahomes versus the greats. I can't wait to get to this. It's so great. It's so cool, man. You're going to love it. But first, the Chiefs have one veteran player everyone will be watching in 2025, and that is Travis Kelce. One thing people can never figure out about Travis Kelce, like, why is he so good? This is where football fans are frankly stupid. And I don't mean you, I mean the casual football fan. Most casual football fans don't watch this show. I understand that. They're watching, I don't know, Breaking Bad. What's popular now? What's a popular show? I watch a lot of sports. I don't know what. Love Island. So while the casual fans are watching Love Island, you're watching Chiefs Chase, and I very much appreciate you. But those casual fans, the reason they're kind of dumb is because they don't think, why is Travis Kelce so good? Travis Kelce is so dominant and he's so good because he continues to find ways to get open that nobody else can find. And that is by far the most important thing for any pass catcher at any level, not just in the NFL. If you're in Pee Wee, getting open is the most important thing you can do. Now, how does Travis Kelce do that? Well, here he is at tight end U, showing the youngsters how to do it.
Big guys, it's so hard for us to just throw 1 foot in the ground going 75% speed in a route to get out of there, right? So we want to use two steps. If you can get two, if sometimes it takes 3 on the 15 to 20 yard routes if you're lucky enough to run them. But for me, getting in and out of a break, you have to slow that momentum down and really gather that power so that you can explode out. So I'm gonna make sure that I get to a balanced, powerful position. That instep is typically going in the direction that I want to go. Don't always want to understep. I do that a lot, unfortunately. But if I get to choose what I'm doing, I'm going in at a powerful position. That means if a defender's on me, I'm still strong getting out of that thing. You know what I mean? Like I can gain separation. And it's hard to gain separation if you don't go in at a controlled pace. So really work and find that shoulder over toe. Ooh. And you can get in and out of there precise and with a purposeful, powerful foundation.
Travis Kelce's the most dynamic tight end in the history of football. So dynamic that people can't even really figure out why he's so good. Well, he uses space. He thinks like a quarterback. He plays smart. He stays healthy. That's why, while Rob Gronkowski, the same age as Travis Kelce, is sitting at home doing nothing, Travis Kelce is playing yet another season of NFL football because he's that dynamic of a player. If you want to take a basketball comparison, Gronk is LeBron James. He's big and he's fast. That's it. Travis Kelce? He's Michael Jordan. He's Kobe Bryant. He is the most skilled player out there because he understands the game and understands the position at a level that Rob Gronkowski couldn't dream of. Yet you have these Boston fans that make people like Gronk and Big Papi folk heroes, when in reality, these guys don't have the tape or the stats to back up their folk hero status. So you have all this mythological stuff like Rob Gronkowski, the same age as Travis, still not playing, hasn't played for like 5 years. The reality is, if you want to play tight end in the NFL, model your game after Travis Kelce. Listen to what Travis Kelce has to say. Don't listen to guys like Gronk because they don't know how to play the position. They just know how to be big and fast. And that's fine. There's a lot of guys like that. That's great. But don't tell me that Rob Gronkowski is a better tight end than Travis Kelce, because it's flat out not true. I'm sorry that hurts you, but it's a falsehood. It's a falsehood that you're currently living in, and you have to come around to the good word and understand that Travis Kelce is without question the GOAT. I'll hear your Tony Gonzalez arguments, but I disagree with them. Look, we'll see what happens. He has the biggest record, right? The most yards. Travis got a ways to go, but he looks good. We'll see. Now, some big-name free agents are still available, and people in the NFL think the Chiefs might sign one of these guys before camp. We'll tell you who coming up here in just a few minutes. But first, check out this crazy quarterback comparison when it comes to Mahomes versus the greats. Awesome. Through 7 seasons, Mahomes, Brady, Manning, Rodgers. Through the first 7 seasons, Patrick Mahomes has the most wins, the most yards, the most passing touchdowns, and the same amount of rings as Tom Brady. So Patrick Mahomes, before 30 years old, through the first 7 seasons of his career, is the unquestioned greatest of all time. What happens for the rest of his career? Well, that remains to be seen. But you know, right now, it is unquestionable. Most yards, most touchdowns, most wins, tied for Brady with Super Bowls. Mess with him. Do something. You can't, because those numbers alone end every other conversation about the greatest of all time and put the crown on Patrick Mahomes. He unquestionably has the crown of the greatest before 30, and he's coming for the greatest of all time, Tom. So you could sit there at Fox and you could hang out and talk about all the things you would have done differently, but the fact is, Patrick Mahomes is nipping at the heels, and I know you can feel it. I know you can. I hated that he tried to defend the Eagles early on in the Super Bowl. Drove me nuts. Still love Brady, though. I mean, come on. Now, the big name free agents, we'll end it with this. Big name free agents, Von Miller. I think Von Miller's an interesting one. I don't think he comes to Kansas City before the season begins, but I think Von Miller's best option. Like, if I'm Von, if I'm his agent, I say just get in really good shape, bro. Get in really good shape, take care of your body, make sure that you're ready, and then when a bad injury happens in the first month or two of the season, boom, you go there, sign for a big check, go win a Super Bowl. That's what I think Von Miller will be coming up this year. So I think where he goes, I don't know. But they put out Amari Cooper. I don't think the Chiefs go with Cooper. Keenan Allen. Could be, but I doubt it, right? Unless there's an injury or something. Matthew Judon. Interesting. I don't think he goes to the Chiefs, but it's interesting. Jadeveon Clowney, another interesting one. I think the Chiefs are pretty set right now at pass rusher, but if that changes, those are guys to keep an eye on. The one guy who's still a free agent who I could see potentially coming in if the Chiefs feel they need better depth at wide receiver is Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis was a Chief killer, man. We remember him, right? We remember him from the divisional round of the playoffs a few years ago in the 13-second game. Gabe Davis set that game on fire. He has a ton of talent. I think the Chiefs will at least give a look to him. I don't know if they sign him, but I've heard rumblings. They might give him a look. Frankly, at this point, I'm really happy with the roster the Chiefs have. I don't think they go out and get anybody else, but there's a chance. Gabe Davis, his name's been thrown out there. Who knows? I wanted to pass that on. Personally, I like who they got, and I think the Chiefs are in a great position. Going into training camp in 2025, we'll continue to do off-season check-ins. We'll continue to do training camp check-ins, and we will continue, as always, as I've always promised you, we will continue to do Chiefs Chase as long as I still have a pulse in my body because I love doing this. I love talking to you guys. Thank you for your follows. Thank you for your interactions. Thank you for everything. You have no idea how much each and every one of you guys mean to me. So thank you. Sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And have a phenomenal rest of your day, phenomenal rest of your week, and get fired up because we're going to St. Joe, baby. Chiefs Chase.